Hi, everyone. My name is Liz Stewart, and I'm here with Pam Zipsey from the New Jersey Shade Tree Federation. And we are here with Brittany Peterson, who is an ISA certified arborist, and Barbara Ronca, who is the Bridgewater Shade Tree chairwoman, I believe.
I'm just serving as a member now.
Okay, just a member, but we all know how much that is.
Yeah.
So welcome both of you for joining us. And Brittany is currently on the board with us, and Barbara was on the board with us, and she still is involved in helping. You've probably seen her at the meetings, the yearly meetings, and around at the League of Municipalities at our table. So we're gonna have a little chat tonight with both of them.
Yeah, and Barbara continues to help us on the education subcommittee on the board.
Yes.
And that's always amazing when we have a board member who has, cycled off, but then continues to participate. So we really appreciate that. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
So for the first question, we would like to ask you guys, what is a typical day like for you in your tree-related role for what you do? So who wants to start?
Well, maybe I would, because I don't really have a tree-related role in the sense that most of the other board members have, because I am really one of the members that was from the community. So although I have experience with trees, I don't do it for my living. I am a psychotherapist, so my typical day is talking with clients and their mental health issues. But there is a lot of connection between mental health and good health and trees. So I like to draw that into what I do with trees. But also, I did have another career before that in education, and I taught biology. So I know the biology of trees and all of that. I did teach at the high school level. So it's kind of that perspective that I have brought to the board and hope to continue to bring to the board, because I don't think there have been too many of us that have come to the board that haven't worked in the tree industry on a day-to-day basis.
How about with the Shade Commission that you volunteered for?
The Shade Tree Board, I served for 20 plus years as chairperson in Bridgewater. So I did that when I left teaching, and there happened to be an opening on the board that year in Bridgewater, and I became a member, and then all of a sudden I was leading it for many years and developed many programs for Bridgewater and brought what we did to every elementary school child and every Arbor Day. I mean, we saw over 700 students, and we went in and out of classrooms all day long. I developed a program at the Bridgewater Library so that we can have programs there. So the involving the community, but also getting people, not only adults, but especially the kids, educated at a very early age about not just, aren't trees pretty, but tree care, tree preservation, what's the importance, to keep it going, like to pay it forward. And every Arbor Day, when we handed out those 700 trees to the various classrooms, and we went in and out of every fourth grade classroom here in Bridgewater, and it took us the whole day. We just felt like we were helping to educate them so that it would become second nature. And some of them would come back, after several years, they'd show us pictures of their siblings, the trees that they got on Arbor Day, and they showed us, they were bigger than the house now. One principal even showed us trees where they were planted in front of the school. How many years ago, I can't recall the exact, but they were also taller than the building. So it gave a good sense of time and what trees can do over time, and the longevity, not only the longevity, but the durability and care. When you, just like any living thing, you give it good care, and then you have the benefits of it for, as long as that lifespan will take it. So that's the interesting part. And I still do it. I mean, you can't help but not enjoy trees with all the uses that it has. And we certainly got educated too. So I said, oh dear, I think my internet connection is not doing too good here, but we'll keep it going.
All right, very, very cool. Thanks, Barbara. And then I've realized that I think I skipped over the part where you introduce yourselves. And Barbara did a great job of introducing herself and her background in answering the questions. So Brittany, please also introduce yourself and you know what you do in the question.
Sure. Yeah, I am the manager of vegetation management for Pepco Holdings, which is a utility company. They own several smaller utility companies. One is right here in New Jersey, so Atlantic City Electric, also Delmarva Power, and then Pepco as well. So I manage an area that goes from southern New Jersey all the way down to DC. And basically it's, you know, vegetation as it relates to line clearance. So we deal with, you know, the regulatory world on both the state and federal level. So a lot of the tree work that we do is regulated and is done by contractors. So on a typical day lately, it's mostly an exorbitant amount of emails and conference calls. But on a good day, there is a little bit of field oversight involved in that as well, and contractor oversight, and a lot of like the safety observations that are done, and then of course like work quality observations. So the contracts that I manage, there is a very specific scope of work or specification that needs to be met. And so a lot of that is followed up by auditing and quality control and making sure that these contractors are pruning to our standards and meeting the needs of the customer. And another large part of my job outside of regulatory and contract management is dealing with customers on the municipal level, on the individual level, and, you know, coordinating and making sure we keep them happy and satisfied as well.
All right.
I guess along those lines, Brittany, do you have any advice for our members, our Federation members, on how to work with a company like yours or someone like yourself when there is clearance in their town?
Yeah, I mean, I always direct people to our general like 1-800 customer service number. We have a very tight core group of individuals in my group, and I really pride them on responding to customers and customers' concerns and getting back to them in a timely manner. I think it's a very strong part of what we do and a very important part of what we do. So usually there's a quick follow-up for things like safety concerns. If anytime there's trees within 10 feet of the utility lines, that is something that we would call like a customer assist. So basically you can call into the utility, you'll get routed directly to my department, and you'll get put on a list for an inspection within 5 business days, where someone will come out, determine that it's actually within that 10 feet, and determine if it's something that we would do on our end, or if it's something that the customer is safe and allowed to do on their end without going through the utility company, at which point they could like hire a private contractor. But we do have an, you can call in, and it's called a service request, and it comes directly to our department, and we send out an inspector within 5 days to offer their opinion on whatever the situation is.
Great. I mean, that's what I love about the Federation Board is we have all these people who do different things. So we always have someone from the utility, we have someone from the community, we have people from arborists and colleges, and we all come together because we all are working for our trees. And like Barbara said, it's really important to care for trees. My question for Barbara would be, do you have like a favorite resource that you would use for students or for your community, like a tree resource?
There isn't one. And when I go to the schools, of course, I want to, you know, present it from like an educational perspective. So I always have maybe 2 or 3 pages of resources at an age appropriate level. And we always used to donate a book to their library or more than one, perhaps a resource book for the classroom. But for the community, because Bridgewater does also an eco fair, they call it, which is usually the beginning of May. We haven't done it in a while with COVID, but you know, each of the township groups does present there, and we give the educational component there as well. So we'll have resources, guides, even hands-on resources, like we'll have a raffle for a particular tree, but we'll also give all the background of that tree, where it does well, where it can be planted for the environmental conditions, but also specific to this area, the type of soils we have, and that kind of educational piece, because people in general, they're from all walks of life in the general community, and they may not be attuned that much to doing, even in their own yard. They may hire people to do all of this work, but they don't get that involved with it. But hopefully, maybe a plus that came out of the pandemic and all of the time spent at home, that people have been looking to the yards because they had to spend a lot of time there, and they are doing more things at home. And of course, now with the invasion of cicada and lanternflies and all of these critters that have a very robust season right now, we're learning more and more about that. So no, I don't have one resource, but I do like to provide a variety of them. And that's where the library system and the community does work hand in hand.
Nice. Pam, do you have a question?
I do. I would like to know what your biggest tree pet peeve is. Like, what's the thing about trees or about tree care or whatever that really is a constant, bug in your bonnet? Brittany, you want to start?
Yes, I will. In line clearing, vegetation management with line clearance, work quality has been a historical problem, and we do get a lot of complaints. Our contractors are trained, they know the way they're supposed to prune. But for some reason, something that we still see from time to time, and it has gotten better over the years, is like what we would call like a dog ear, where they don't prune back, they don't prune back to the proper lateral, or they don't make the proper cut. They'll leave like essentially like a stub there, and it leads to all kinds of problems down the road. And so it just seems like no matter how many times we provide the contractor with the resources and the information and the trainings, and we come through and we follow up with audits and make them fix it, that it still happens from time to time. And that is definitely one of my biggest pet peeves to see.
I'd like to,
Barbara,
if I can, yes, interject mine. It's a little different perspective, but on the just the homeowner end, if I see a healthy tree with lots of healthy green leaves and branches that someone is taking down, either themselves or by someone else, is why are you disturbing that healthy tree? I've seen many young families and neighborhoods that are turning over from these long-term established residents there, and now another generation of people are coming in. They'll just clear out several healthy trees just to put a swing set in, or something of that. Maybe that's very necessary, but healthy trees can be dealt with in a better way, maybe where both can live, the trees and their family life can go on symbiotically, hand in hand. But also I know Bridgewater has a very strong tree ordinance, and we've just revised it recently for both the commercial and for the residential activities that go on in tree removal. So, you need to follow what's in your township's tree ordinance. And there are rules and guidelines, and you need to read them and follow them. And I think as a neighbor, if you see some activity, it doesn't hurt to go over and question it, and be sure that they are following the guidelines. There's no reason to take down a healthy tree, just like we wouldn't, put to sleep a healthy animal if we didn't have to. So that's my pet peeve.
Yes.
all right.
Well, I'm going to follow up with a happier question, a little bit. And I'm going to skew it. It's usually, what is your favorite tree? But since Barbara does work with people and their psychoses, if you could hug any tree, what would it be?
Oh my.
Or favorite tree you can think of, I guess.
I'm not a tree hugger, but you know, trees, and no matter what trees, whether they're the deciduous trees, the trees that have leaves, you know, all year round, or the evergreen. Green is green. They give us so much oxygen and health. But all the studies will show that, you know, in an environment where there's trees or trees outside a hospital or a school or any place, a corporation, people do better than looking out at a concrete or looking out at an area where there are no trees. So if I were a tree hugger and I did have to pick a favorite tree, I'd be hugging all of them.
Everyone.
Like a group
Just
hug.
hugging everyone.
It would be a group hug.
I like that group hug. I like that.
Nice. Brittany.
So to the first question, the hug any tree, I think for, when I was in college, I did an internship at the Rutgers Gardens, and I summers. And when I was there was this gorgeous magnolia tree that took up like the middle of the lawn. I don't even know if it's still there. I haven't been there in many years. If it was, I would want to go back and hug that tree just because it's such a memorable place for me. And I just think it was probably one of the most beautiful trees I've ever seen. As far as my favorite tree, I have to answer both though, because I love, you know, I do have a favorite. I also, before I was in the vegetation management or the utility side of the business, I was actually an urban forester in New York City. And I was running the part of the Million Trees at the street tree planting program. And one tree I came across through our species list there was the golden rain tree, Colbertaria paniculata. And I'm sure a lot of people see this tree and probably dislike it for several reasons, but it was such a tough tree. And also to me I just loved the way it looked and the way it held up and the way it added to our diversity that we were planting in the city. So I think if I had to pick a favorite, it would be that one.
Interesting. That's like a cool street tree too, kind of. It's got a cool effect. Yeah.
Yeah, I like those too.
Interesting. Yeah.
Great answers.
Yeah. Pam, do you have a final question or?
Well, I feel like that's usually our final question. So maybe do either of you have a parting comment?
I have a comment, and first of all, I want to thank both of you for this endeavor, for bringing, you know, all of our backgrounds to not just one another, to whoever is interested in it. I do want to put a plug in to maybe those who are watching that are not part of the New Jersey Shade Tree Federation, is, you know, maybe it's a volunteer activity. These are not, you know, paid positions to be on. This is volunteers. So we either love doing this for our work or love doing it just in general. And I think it's a great, not just great organization, but a great group of people who come together for a common purpose. And it's wonderful. I'm, you know, on my gap year, so, you know, you can serve for 2 terms and then be off and hopefully, you know, rejoin. But it is going to be something that if you do decide to try it and be part of it, it's a wonderful experience and one you'll never forget.
I would just say that, you know, I learned more in this business from the professionals I work with through the board and through venues like the board than I did in my 4.5 years of college and my 15 years in the professional world. And so I really value these opportunities, and I appreciate you asking me to do this, and I appreciate working with all of you. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. I think it just shows, I agree with you. I think our board meetings are, not only do we get a lot done, and there's so much knowledge in that room. And it's always great coming together with everyone. Everyone's there from all these different, like I said, these different places in the tree world in New Jersey. And we get a lot done. Donna gets a lot done for us, but we try to support her. But yeah, so I appreciate both of you being on the board and always giving, you know, as much information as you can.
Yeah, and we appreciate you taking even more time out to join us tonight to do these interviews. So thank you.
Happy
Pleasure.
Yep.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a good
Bye.
night.